Hello and welcome to this reading vlog. So this week I thought I would choose my books via my tarot deck. So a long time ago there was a tarot kind of readathon and prompts were made for each tarot card. So I thought, perfect, let me just do that, shuffle the deck and that'll pick my book. So for that I used my Deathly Flowers tarot deck, and the first card I pulled was the Five of Cups. So I'll zoom in so you can see that card there. And for this one, the prompt is a book that deals with loss, grief, and disappointment. And for that, I chose Death Valley by Melissa Broder. So with Melissa Broder, I find that her writing style is engrossing whilst also being kind of gross. That being said, if you do find her kind of references about the body a bit too much, makes you uncomfortable based on her past books, The Pisces or Milk Fed, this book is so much more tame. So there's far less of that. It's still there a little bit, but in manageable doses. So in this book, basically, you've got a woman who decides to take a week in the desert at a Best Western. She's writing a book and she needs to sort of nail that desert kind of vibe. She's currently going through a lot of grief, a lot of loss, a lot of disappointment. Her father is dying, her husband is chronically ill, and it focuses heavily on those themes. She basically ends up getting lost in the desert. So there are also desert bunnies, there are hallucinatory cacti, which gets her in touch with the versions of her father and husband when they were younger and throughout their lives. And she's sort of going through a whole process of healing. There are talking rocks, and it's just a lot of her emotional processes. So this book is really all about the feels, not so much about the plot. But I still really enjoyed it. So I've given it 4 stars, and I definitely think Melissa Broder is someone that I will always try. But out of all of her books, this has been my most favorite. And I think it's because it had the least amount. I've got a cat on my lap. Hey, Bluebell. Sometimes we call her Bubbles. It had the least amount of like gross kind of references in it, but I really enjoyed it. So that was Death Valley. I'm now going to shuffle the cards and we'll see what we get next. Okay, let's have a shuffle. Okay, that was quick. Ooh, I'm getting hardcore cards. Maybe I need to do a reading. We've got the 10 of Fire, or otherwise known as the 10 of Wands. And the prompt for this one is read a book about a character who's carrying a heavy burden or going through a lot. I'm going to do a reading after this because I think maybe the cards need to tell me something. But I will look through my TBR and see what fits that prompt. Okay, so as it turns out, most of my TBR fits this prompt. It's a very easy prompt to fit. So what I'm thinking is either A Court This Cruel and Lovely. It's pretty much a fan row. Adult, so we've got that one. There's also Woman Eating, but it's not rated very highly, so that kind of makes me go, oh, maybe I'd choose one of the high rated ones. I've also got the sequel to Two Twisted Crowns, but I think I'll wait for that one. So I think I'm going to go with A Court This Cruel and Lovely. So basically you've got a girl and she's left for dead. She gets forbidden powers, has to flee her village and the life that she's known to survive, and then has to make a desperate bargain with a mercenary who abandoned her. So she's going through it. She's got a lot of burdens and she's struggling. So I'm going to go with A Court This Cruel and Lovely. Good morning, guys. So I started and read in one sitting A Court This Cruel and Lovely. I've decided to give it 3.5 stars. It is fun. It's a fun fantasy. I did enjoy the main character Priska, but I did not like the love interest. I do enjoy a cruel love interest as long as they're not cruel and mean to the main female character. So in this case, this guy's a dick to everybody. He's cruel and mean to everyone, and therefore I just did not ship them together. he gave me the ick. So because I didn't love the romance, that's why it was 3.5, but otherwise I enjoyed this story as a whole. And in this world you have humans, hybrids and fae, and in the human lands, the human king, when a child is born, takes their magic from them and gives it back to them on their 25th birthday, like reduced, and they do that to keep the magic strong, to keep the fae out. The hybrids have been, as far as anyone knows, mostly hunted to extinction. So we've got the main character who is dreading the ceremony that happens on her 25th birthday because she is considered one of the corrupted, in that when her magic was meant to be taken from her as a child, it didn't work. So she still has her magic. And basically if that happens, they're killed and the family members of that person are also instantly slaughtered. It's an instant death sentence. So obviously some things happen. She ends up having to leave the village, go on the run and seek help from this douchebag because he's a mercenary. They form an alliance, you know, she needs something, he needs something from her. And so they kind of are supposed to be sort of enemies to lovers, but I guess it's like reluctant allies to lovers. And it's supposed to be slow burn. I just didn't like him. I really did not. So that's where it failed. But otherwise, it was a fun time. I liked the other characters. I liked the magic system. It was completely and utterly predictable. I predicted the reveals and identities of just everything. So there was nothing that shocked me except her desire to be with the dude when there was other options available. But it does continue on in the series. I will not be continuing on. It's just not got enough for me to want to continue on, especially with that dude as a love interest. And I don't think the author's going to pull a Tamlin, to be honest, so I'm not interested to see. So I will shuffle my deck and see what I'm going to be reading next. Oh my god. It's the Three of Swords. If you guys read tarot, you know that all the cards I've been pulling are heavy. These are heavy cards. So we've got the Three of Swords here, and that's read a book that you think could make you cry. I don't really cry in books, and the books that I have cried in have been middle grade books because I guess I wasn't expecting to get hit in the fields. So should I go for a middle grade? I don't know. I'm going to have to look at my TBR and maybe my daughter's bookshelves and see if there's something that I think could pull on my heartstrings. But Jesus Christ, can we get a happy card? Besides that, I forgot to mention yesterday that it was my best friend's birthday. So she came over with her hubby and I made her this chestnut chocolate pot de creme with Smith's meringue. They were really decadent and delicious. I really love a chocolate pot de creme. It's one of my favorite types of desserts because I like soft foods that I can eat with a spoon and rich. And they were so kind to wind a lot of my yarn balls for me. So I've been going through my yarn stash and I gave her some. But they wound some for me because I suck at winding, so thank you. Thank you very much, darling. Besides that, I am starting the autoimmune protocol diet today because unfortunately, all of my immune conditions have flared up. Normally, after doing a water fast, I get about a 6-month reprieve from symptoms, so I get 6 months of remission. Unfortunately, this time around, it only lasted 8 weeks, which I'm gutted about. To me, that means that obviously something I'm eating or doing is causing a lot of inflammation. There must be a lot of inflammation in my body and it's flaring my conditions. So I've got to reduce the inflammation. I've got to try and figure out too if there are triggers for it. And in the past, I used the autoimmune protocol to do that. Back then I was vegan and it was very hard to do that diet because there were no vegan sources of protein pretty much in that diet besides veggies. But this time around, obviously I'm not. So it should be a lot more manageable. I am not doing it 100%, as in if I go out for an event, I'll just eat whatever my soul wants. But at home, it's going to be AOP all the way. But I need to have that kind of break from complete restriction because I don't do well with complete restriction. It's not good for my mental health. So while this diet's good for my body, this normally will suffer. But I'm going to try my best. I need to because I need a break from the pain, the joint pain and the hashies. Like I'm losing all my hair. This is all my hair. I brought it all to the front. So the brain fog is heavy, the chronic fatigue, all of that crap, you know, is just consuming me. And I'm like, no, this is not happening. It's almost summer. I need to be in my peak. So AIP it is. It's not a long-term thing. It's a thing you do temporarily. And then after like 4 or 6 weeks, you slowly phase certain foods back in to see if they cause a flare up in your conditions. And that's how you ascertain what has triggered you. So we'll see how we go. Today I am going to my daughter's swimming my eldest daughter. So I'm just doing one day, which she is not happy about, but her teacher did come and ask me face to face, can you please come and volunteer? So I'm like, yeah, I can. My daughter's not going to be happy about it, but don't worry, I'll just completely pretend she doesn't exist, which is what she wants. But I'll let you know which book I'm going to start reading before I go. Okay, so after looking through my TBR, it is pretty fantasy heavy, and I just don't think anything there is really going to make me cry or make me sad. So I've hit my daughter's books, because the last book I remember crying in was The Grace of Wild Things by Heather Fawcett, and that was a middle grade fantasy book. So I've picked two, one of which is Hedgewitch, Witches Aren't Born, They're Made. So this is definitely one that I wanted to read from my daughter's collection. It's just a stunning cover. I love the foiling there. And this is about a young girl whose mother has been gone for 7 years, and she decides to set out and try to find her with the help of a talking cat. I apologize for the wind, it is ferocious today. So yeah, this could get to me, we'll see. It's either that or it's this one, which is A Little Spark, Don't Let It Go Out, which has some spot gloss on it. I just love the amount of effort that goes into books these days to make them pretty. And this is about a young girl who has to choose between living with her mum or her dad, whom are divorced, and like relocating with her mum and her stepdad. So, you know, when it's a kid choosing between which parent she wants to live in, that might get me in the feels. So what I think I might do is I might read a chapter of each and see which one I want to read, and then pick that one. But I am going to my kids' swimming, so I need something that I can read on my e-reader. So I'm going to shuffle some more cards to pick a book, hopefully, that I can read on my e-reader. I'm also going to the library today to do a library haul, so I'll show that as well. But let's find a book to read on the bus. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle. What book? Oh, straight away. Oh, no, that's a yes card. So I can't use that one. That's one of my own. That's not a tarot card. Wow. This deck is not liking me right now. Which card? Oh, I've already had that one. That's a 10 of fire again. This deck is being real sassy today. All right, we finally got a nice one. We've got strength. So for strength, for the strength card, it's read a book that features animals in some way, which Hedgewitch does. All right, I'm going to have to read through all of my TBR to see if there's any mentions of animals. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so I actually really lucked out with the strength card, because I found a book that had not only a cat on the cover in a suit, starter villain, there are talking spy cats in the book. So yay, that fills out prompts. So that's the book I'm going to be reading on the bus, and I will read the first chapters of the other two when I get home. I'll let you know which one I'm going with for a book that might make you sad. So I have gone with Hedgewitch. This is just more up my alley. If I'm going to read middle grade, I do prefer to read fantasy middle grade. It just speaks to me, and I love the map. I love the chapter headings are beautiful. This is about a 13-year-old girl, but just the way it was written and the language used and everything, it just wasn't my cup of tea. The first chapter starts with her going to the Dandenongs with her dad, because that's where she was conceived, and that's what he tells her. And then they have a sort of UFO kind of experience with lights, and then they just start talking about anal probing. It just wasn't for me. I just wasn't into it. So this one, on the other hand, yeah, I'm invested. It's a big boy. It's a thick for middle grade, but I love the illustrations in it, and we'll see if it can hit me in the feels like Grace of Wild Things did. Okay, so let me show you what I have grabbed, since I'm going to be sitting in the car anyway. So I've got Happy Easter from the Crayons. My daughter absolutely loves this series. It can do no wrong in her eyes. The Age of Cats. So I think this is a nonfiction, From the Savannah to Your Sofa. I'm not sure if I'll read it. I just thought I'd grab it in case I'm in the mood. Nonfiction, it really depends on how it's written and if I'm actually engaging or if I'm just glazing over. So there's this one. That Bird Has Arms. So once again, another book for my daughter. Season of the Witch, the Book of Goth. Like, how could I not? This was like screaming my name. I have no idea what this is about. And the last book is The Skull by John Klassen. So I believe this is a graphic novel. It just looked super spooky. We've read his picture books before and my kids love those, but I think this is probably going to be more for me than for the kids. Hey guys, just a very quick update. I did finish Hedgewitch and I found it boring. It was quite boring for me. I think I would probably rate it a 3. I did love the illustrations in it and the illustrated headings of each chapter. I thought that was cute. But basically, you've got a young girl whose mother has been gone for 7 years and is proclaimed dead because that's the amount of time it takes to declare someone deceased. And she is about to get kicked out of the girl's home that she's in and meets a talking cat and ends up running away, but to her aunt that she never knew she had. So it turns out she has an aunt. Her aunt is a hedge witch, which in this series is basically the head witch, the big honcho of the witches, and is responsible for containing the magic of the hedge, where there are beings, fairies, goblins, that sort of thing that cause mischief and mayhem, and whom have been stealing children from the town. So she, ends up going to school there, learning how to become a witch. She has a talking cat who's not her familiar, but is guiding her. His name is Montague. And she makes some friends. Does she find her mother or not? It was okay. There was just nothing special about it. I didn't bond to any of the characters. So pretty much I'm actually going to put this book as the strength card prompt for a book that has an animal in it. And hopefully Starter Villain actually is a book that makes me cry. So I'm doing a bit of a sneaky sneak, but because both of them can be switched, I am. And hopefully I can fulfill the prompt of a book that made me sad or made me shed a tear. I don't think so, because Starter Villain is feeling very comical. It's very humorous. But I will tell you more about Starter Villain when I finish reading it. Good morning. I have finished Starter Villain and I've decided to give it 4 stars. It is very much a comedic spy kind of book, think, get smart, and movies of that vein. So you basically have a clueless middle-aged substitute teacher, former journalist, who is down on his luck, has a pet cat named Hera, and suddenly his billionaire uncle, estranged, passes away and lo and behold wants to bequeath him something in his will. It turns out what he's giving him is a villainry business. So his father is part of this collective villain organization, and basically from then on he's a target for assassination. So this book has a lot of silliness to it. There are typing cats. So these cats have sentient intelligence and can communicate through typing, and also are able to hold land and assets themselves. And then you've got some very snarky, pissed off dolphins who like to cuss a whole lot, and, whales with torpedoes and all of this kind of silliness. Evil lairs on volcanoes. It's just throwing in all of the tropes, including, Agent 99, sidekick. So it was entertaining. I think this book would be fantastic as a movie. I think it would just really be fun to watch. As a book, it was okay, but it just felt like I was reading a movie script in a way. That's why I've given it 4 stars. It was a lot of dialogue, a lot of witty back and forth banter, people double crossing each other to a redonkulous degree, but it was entertaining. Personally, my favorite characters obviously were the cats, Hera and Persephone. I would love for them to adopt me. Please adopt me. But besides them, I didn't really form any attachments to any of the other characters. So yeah, it was still a good, entertaining read. And that is the end of this vlog. Until next time, stay wild, Star Child.